Don't you wish that your weekend was longer than just 2 days? Well, if so, then you're in luck, because here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio, our weekend begins on Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Our weekend kicks off every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, with DarkWolf's Den, starring yours truly, Jerry the Dark Wolf. But that's where the fun has only just begun. Make sure you come back every Thursday through Sunday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, for the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show, starring AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. He dives into the archives of vocal legend Art Bell and brings those stories up to date. So make sure that you spend your extended weekends with the animals of radio, Jerry the Dark Wolf and AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, every Wednesday through Sunday, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
Rippin' Ripin' Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripin' Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters and the International Mandela Effect Conference, and you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripin' Common Sense Radio.
Hello.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light, and you're now listening to DarkWolf's Den.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication in the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
Welcome back to another episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show. I am Dark Wolf, and I will be your host this evening. Don't worry, guys. Jerry's okay. He's not locked in a closet or a dungeon or anything yet. Shh, that's our little secret. But he will be back tomorrow night with you guys to host the Halloween Spooktacular. That's right. But tonight we're going to finish our mini-series on ghosts. We're going to discuss demons tonight. That's right. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right here with you on Spooktober 28th, 2020. But of course, before we get started, here is Jerry Hicks with today's Today in History. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dark Wolf. Go ahead and put a 1 in the chat room if you guys are enjoying this couple of episodes with Dark Wolf. I gotta say, he's done an incredible job. But I'm here to give you guys a historical fact, so check this one out. In 1831, on this day, Michael Faraday demonstrated his dynamo invention, which would be an electrical generator. That's right. And for those who don't know, Michael Faraday is the scientist which the Faraday cage is named after. And that is today's Today in History. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, here to talk to us tonight about demons and finish out the Ghost miniseries, ladies and gentlemen, Dark Wolf. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jerry, for that amazing introduction. You kind of help feed my inner demons, don't you? And we've all got inner demons, right? I'd like my voice to be heard and my message to get out, right? I've got a little bit of pride in that. I'll take pride in my work, I'll say that. So yes, we've all got a little bit of inner demon work to deal with, don't we? But we aren't talking about those inner demons like that tonight. Oh no. We will get into inner demons later, but that's more of a possessed topic to speak of. We'll get into that later on in the show, but first, we need to figure out what exactly a demon is.
Google image search demon, and you get a pretty good idea of the modern stereotype for these creatures. Red eyes, horns, fangs, fire, lots of fire. These stereotypes owe a lot to Christian ideas about demons that have developed over the past 2,000 years. Demons appear everywhere in the New Testament as evil spirits. In the Gospels, they're the main adversaries of Jesus as he walks around the Galilee region casting them out of demon-possessed people. Elsewhere, they're the foot soldiers of the army of Satan, cast into the abyss at the end of times, according to the book of Revelation. As Christianity developed in the late Roman period, demons increasingly were equated with pagan gods. Zeus, he's a demon. Aphrodite, a demon.
It sounds to me like anything that the Christians didn't agree with suddenly became a demon.
But demons were not always the unambiguously evil creatures that we think of today. Just like any religious concept, demons have a history. The word demon comes from the Greek word daimon. As far as the Greeks and the Romans were concerned, daimon refers to a wide range of spiritual beings. Homer and Hesiod even refer to the Olympian gods like Aphrodite as daimons. But generally speaking, the word refers to almost anything that was between humans and gods. In Plato's Symposium, one of the characters claims that demons are intermediary beings that live between gods and mortals. They shuttle messages between the gods and humans, but they also control all manner of magical and astrological powers. Daimons control the art of priests concerning sacrifices, rites, spells, and every mode of divination and magic.
So at one point, the daemon played a much more important role within different religious sorts.
Roman philosophers continued this idea for centuries to come. The philosopher Apuleius wrote that there are certain divine middle powers situated in this interval of the air between the highest ether and earth. These are called by a Greek name, daimons. According to this essay, he agrees with Plato in thinking that daimons fulfill all sorts of supernatural jobs on Earth. They control the flight of birds, which Greeks and Romans studied as a form of divination. Daimons inspire prophets, they cause lightning, and they enable fortune tellers to be able to tell the future.
Of course, we have learned that not all of these are now the truth. Then again, they might be. We do know lightning is a natural caused phenomenon, and there are other ones on that list that we have known for years that are not demonic. But there are others like divination that we know is considered by the Christians to be quote-unquote demonic.
Notice how both Plato and Apuleius agree on where daimons live. Somewhere between humans and gods. And they meant this both in terms of proximity, that daimons live closer to Earth, and by power level. Daimons were somehow more extraordinary and more powerful than humans, but not quite powerful enough or divine enough to be called gods. For example, Plato argued that Eros was not a god, but rather a daimon. So the term daimon refers to a whole taxonomy of almost god beings, from nymphs to half-gods to intermediary divine powers, but daimon could also refer to the souls of the dead.
And this is where we start to get into something that we would recognize in today's lore,
including the souls of past heroes and warriors. This is especially true in Greek magical spells, in which daimons appear as souls or corpse daimons that you can call upon for help. For example, an erotic spell from the Greek magical papyri calls upon a daimon of the dead to make a man fall in love with a woman.
So this definitely does not take away from the idea of summoning a demon at all, or a daimon, now does it?
It reads, I adjure you, daimon of the dead, to brand his heart, cause it to melt, and suck out his blood because of love.
I have to say that is one of the creepiest love spells I think I have ever heard.
Yikes. Okay, so notice that this corpse daimon is not necessarily evil. It's possibly spooky and ghost-like, sure, but the moral category of this daimon is ambiguous. This daimon can be helpful, and you can command daimons to do your bidding. Another Greek magical spell even says that daimons can quickly freeze rivers and seas so that you can run over them, which sounds pretty helpful.
Wiccan culture also calls upon or summons different gods or deities or daimons in this case to accomplish different tasks through their magic spells.
One final category of daimon refers to a spark of divinity or cognition within the human. Another Greek spell from Egypt claims that you can speak to your own daimon, presumably a spiritual element of your soul that you can converse with. The spell has the very creative title, Meeting with Your Own Daimon, and explains how you can conjure it. This idea that we have a daimon within us, inspiring us, stretches all the way back to Plato. In Socrates' Apology, his legal defense before Athens, Socrates declares that he has an internal daimon that speaks to him and guides him.
Could this be like the inner demons that we spoke of a moment ago?
Most of these examples are morally ambiguous, and ambiguity is actually one of the hallmarks of daimons in Greek and Roman religion. Are they good? Are they bad? Sometimes one or the other. Generally speaking, daimons are in-between creatures that you should sometimes fear, but you should sometimes employ for your own benefit. So, how did we get from an ambiguously helpful being that can quickly freeze rivers for you to the satanic creatures of the New Testament that can possess you?
And that, my friend, I would say is definitely the million-dollar question.
To answer that question, we need to turn to Jewish apocalypticism and the centuries when Jewish religious thought and Greco-Roman religious thought were increasingly intersecting. First, we should start with the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, the Septuagint. The Septuagint translates several different Hebrew words with the Greek word daimon. For example, they translated the Hebrew words for idol and gods of other nations as daimon. So, Psalm 96:5 in Greek reads, "The gods of the nations are." Partly because of this translation, Jewish writers started calling pagan gods evil daimons. The Septuagint also translates disease as daimonia, yet another unambiguously evil word now associated with the daimonic. What's interesting is that the Greek translators of the Hebrew Bible never conflate angels as daimons. God's supernatural messenger beings appear everywhere in the Hebrew Bible doing God's bidding. Angels visit Abraham in Genesis 19, an angel massacres almost 200,000 Assyrian soldiers in Isaiah 37. We would expect these intermediary beings with the power level between humans and gods would naturally translate into daimon.
But of course, the original problem would begin with a bad translation, and that one bad translation changes the entire meaning of everything else.
And some Jewish writers did make this connection. The Jewish philosopher Philo conflates angels with daimons in one of his books on the Book of Genesis. He writes that Moses gave the name angels to what the Greeks called daimons. But this definition of daimon is very similar to Plato's definition, souls which fly and hover in the air. He apparently was influenced by Platonic thought, but the Septuagint translators of the Hebrew Bible actively avoided this translation, instead translating things like disease and idols as daimons. This helped to create a stark delineation between two species of supernatural beings for later generations. Angels, forever associated with loyal servants of God on one hand, and daimons, forever associated with morally evil or unclean spirits on the other side. Now, of course, Judaism did have an idea of fallen angels around this time too.
But let's go on the Judeo-Christian lore and see what they say a demon is. And this story goes back to the very beginning.
In the world's dawn, God created the heavens and the earth on the second day. And on the very same day, God created the angels, archangels, and cherubim.
And for those who don't know, there are actually many, many classes of angels. But we're not here to talk about angels, are we? Oh no. We're here to talk about demons.
And these heavenly creatures would inhabit the heavens. The renowned Gabriel and Michael were among these magnificent beings. But there was yet another entity who stood out due to his beauty and splendor, known as Lucifer. He was the most important creature God had ever created. But although he had so many qualities, or perhaps due to that, Lucifer was taken by pride. This is the vice that leads to arrogance, vanity, and endless haughtiness.
Well, it seems I should probably keep my pride in check then, huh?
Pride was one of the 7 deadly sins. The proud Lucifer considered himself to be so perfect that he decided to create his own throne, placed even above God, since he wished to be like God. To accomplish his plan, the evil angel deceived the other angels around him. Therefore, the father of falsehood had by his side 1/3 of the angelic beings who inhabited the heavens.
And here's where everything will go to hell.
Darkwolf, you can't say that on the radio.
What? It's the truth.
Together, they would unleash a battle for heaven. But Lucifer encountered an outstanding opponent, Archangel Michael, who commanded the heavenly militia of God-loving angels. To defeat the Lord's angels, Lucifer turned himself into a mighty dragon and dueled against Michael, who wielded a flaming sword. Notwithstanding all his might, the dragon did not defeat Michael, since the latter had God by his side.
I love how it doesn't really give you an explanation. It just says that he had God on his side.
Lucifer and his evil angels were banished from heaven. These angels fell on the earth and were trapped in hell. But Lucifer endured even greater punishment. He, once the most beautiful angel, was transformed into the heinous Satan. Lucifer and his fallen angels started to live in hell. But although defeated, Satan still wanted to avenge himself against his creator.
And as we will find later in the episode, Lucifer and Satan may not be one and the same character at all. As a matter of fact, they may have been conflated together.
And decided to attack his greatest creation, humanity itself, which had been created in the image and likeness of God. A serpent-shaped Satan entered the Garden of Eden and convinced the innocent Eve to taste the forbidden fruit. And using his deceitful tongue, Lucifer concatenated the original sin, which caused Adam and Eve to be driven out of paradise.
And I am sure that most of us know the story of Adam and Eve. But once again, this is only the beginning.
After that, Satan would devote all his efforts to alienate man from God, turning them into sinners so that they failed to reach paradise. Lucifer, the fallen angel, rejected God's grace, and therefore will spend eternity trying to destroy his work.
And like I said a moment ago, we all know the story of Adam and Eve. But does anybody know the story of Adam and Lilith? Anybody? Adam and Lilith is a story that doesn't get told very often in church. There may have been another woman before Eve.
We all have heard of Adam and Eve, who according to the Bible were the first couple of human beings created by God. But an ancient Jewish myth contests that Eve was the first woman. This myth states that before Eve there was another woman, Lilith. Unlike Eve, who came from Adam's rib, Lilith emerged from clay along with Adam. Since she was created by God in the same way as Adam, Lilith did not submit to her husband's commands because she thought she was equal to him and did not accept Adam's domination. Lilith and Adam inhabited the Garden of Eden, but Lilith's rebellion put her in a situation where she was forced to choose between submitting to her husband or leaving the Garden of Eden.
And what do you think, ladies? Would you stay and tough it out? Or would you leave the Garden of Eden forever? Well, let's see what Lilith did.
Lilith was not willing to give up her independence. Therefore, she opted to leave Adam and the Garden of Eden behind.
It looks like Adam was a bit too demanding for Lilith, and she just up and left. She chose to leave the garden forever. Of course, mankind will never know the glory of the Garden of Eden. But at that time they did, and still she chose to leave.
The first woman ever created went into exile and settled herself near the Red Sea. God sent angels in an attempt to convince Lilith to return to the Garden of Eden, but she turned her back on God.
An action that we will soon learn came with a very heavy price to pay.
Without his wife, Adam started to feel lonely. God, seeing that he was struggling with loneliness, decided to create a new woman for him, Eve. Due to her decision to reject the Creator, Lilith was demonized. She was now considered a woman-shaped demon. In her demonic shape, she would have the power to instigate disease in newborn children, and to protect children from evil, the babies were given amulets with the names of the angels who tried to take Lilith back to Eden. These stories affirm that Lilith was jealous of the happy life Adam and Eve led in paradise, and, as an act of revenge, she assumed the shape of a serpent and tricked Eve, forcing her and Adam to taste the forbidden fruit, which caused the couple to be expelled from the paradise.
Aha, so we have our first little ripple here. Perhaps the snake wasn't Satan at all. Perhaps the snake was actually Lilith in a snake form, doing her best to ruin the relationship of her ex-man. Man, you thought your divorce was rough.
You and I both know we don't talk about that.
Oh, I know. But it still wasn't as bad as Adam's.
Lilith's story is quite well known, yet this version is not present in the Christian Bible, and it is rejected by both Catholics and Protestants.
Which is why most Christians have never heard of Lilith the demon before.
The version in which she would have been Adam's first wife is found in the Syriac alphabet text. The date of the writings is unknown, but it is believed that they were created already in the medieval era. The myth of Lilith is found in Hebrew, Babylonian, Sumerian, and Assyrian mythology.
And it is interesting that once again our old friends the Sumerians seems to pop up, doesn't it?
The figure of Lilith in Mesopotamia was seen as an evil deity, or, when associated with the moon, she was regarded as a goddess with different phases and therefore different moods. That way, she could be seen as a fertility goddess, but also as a devilish figure.
She is also the demon that is accused when there is the death of a child or an infant especially. It is normally blamed on Lilith.
There are theories that state that Lilith's absence from the Bible was created during the councils that defined the canonical books that would constitute the Bible as we know it today.
And I want you to keep in mind that a little piece of information right there. There were councils set up to determine what books would be and would not be in the Bible. That, of course, once again will become very important in the second half.
The figure of Lilith as an independent and strong woman will go against the patriarchal structure, one of the cornerstones of the Judeo-Christian culture. For this reason, Lilith was embraced by the feminist movement. She is often regarded as the first feminist.
Even the feminist movement claims to have its roots in the beginnings of time. But that is interesting that she is now the mascot for feminism movement, right? How interesting is that? She goes from demonization back to a worshipped form of some type, right?
The movement claims that Lilith was unfairly demonized, like most women in our history who have attempted to defy the patriarchy.
And we'll find out in the second half if that is true or not.
Whether as a demonic figure or as a symbol of women's struggle, Lilith's story is still the subject of much interest.
The next demon on our list definitely needs no introduction. He is one of the most famous demons in the entire world. Almost every culture has a story about this demon. And as we mentioned a moment ago, this is different than the fallen angel of Lucifer. Next demon on our list is Satan himself.
Satan is the most powerful demon in Judeo-Christian culture. His image as a red horned creature with a trident is already crystallized in the popular imagination. His name means adversary, the opposite of all that God and Jesus represent. Satan is always in an opposite position to God in the struggle for the souls of men. Traditionally, Satan is associated with the figure of Lucifer, who was once a heavenly figure. Because of his pride, he rebelled against God. Lucifer convinced other angels to fight alongside him against the Creator, but this rebellion was stifled by the Archangel Michael. Together with his divine militia, he expelled the rebels and threw them from heaven. Lucifer and the other fallen angels began to inhabit hell. The leader of the rebellious angels was identified as Satan himself.
So Satan did not come up with the plan, Lucifer did. Satan led the armies in the battle.
According to some interpretations, Satan had taken the form of a serpent and convinced Eve to taste the forbidden fruit, causing mankind to be cast out of paradise. Satan, when identified as the devil, assumes the personification of all evil. The Bible describes that one day God was visited by Satan, the accuser. The Lord introduced him to Job, a man so virtuous and faithful that his soul would be out of Satan's reach. But God's opponent noticed that Job was only faithful to God because he counted on his blessings. He had everything he wanted. Satan bet with God that, without his blessings, Job's faith would turn to dust and he would curse God. Job was left with nothing: his wealth, his servants, his prestige. He even lost his family. Satan lost the bet because, despite all that suffering, Job refused to curse the Creator.
And it is my belief that this bet has went on ever since over the souls of every one of mankind.
Satan is not an exclusive figure in Judeo-Christian culture. This evil being is also present in Islam. He is known by the name of Iblis, an evil jinn who emerged from the fire.
And of course, the jinn is yet another creature that has come up across this series a number of times.
Iblis hated mankind with all his might, and his mission was to turn mankind away from God. Those who turn away from Allah, following in the footsteps of Satan, will be cast into the fire of hell, where they will find their just punishment. Whether in Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, Satan is present, trying to lead man astray from the path of goodness and justice.
And if you remember earlier, we spoke of the hierarchy of angels, right? Well, there's actually also a hierarchy of demons, that's right. Hell is full of different types of demons, and we're going to learn tonight the royalty of the demonic line, who these demons are, and what they do.
Hell is undoubtedly a dreadful place filled with pain and suffering. The ones subjugated to it are destined to eternal suffering. But, according to some Christian traditions, the souls of sinners are not the only ones there. They share their misery in the company of the most sinister creatures, conventionally known as demons. Among these, 7 stand out, the 7 princes of hell.
7 princes,
These demons are related to each of the 7 deadly sins. Belphegor, the Lord of the Fire, is also known as the demon of laziness. According to some traditions, Belphegor had once been a powerful archangel named Baal-Peor, but when the rebellion of Lucifer was unleashed in the heavens, he did not join the rebelling angels, nor did he support the army of the Lord's angels. Due to his inertia, he was considered a defector and thrown into hell.
Moral of the story? Even a lack of action is an action.
Azazel was among the fallen angels who rebelled against God.
And I've seen this guy in a few video games.
At the dawn of time, Azazel was carnally related to the woman who lived on earth. The fruits of this union were known as Nephilim.
That's one pretty awesome demon, considering he created all the Nephilim upon the earth, the giants upon the earth in those days.
Azazel's descendants would taint the earth, and because of that, were swept away by the God-generated flood. Azazel, who once had been an angel, became an archdemon who represents the sin of wrath.
If you're feeling wrathful, perhaps this is the little demon that is dancing on your shoulder and whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
Mammon was one of the many pre-Christian deities. He started to be seen as a devilish figure associated with the sin of greed and avarice. Jesus condemned the cult of money, personified in Mammon's figure. Therefore, men could not serve Mammon and God at the same time.
For a man cannot serve 2 masters, as he will hate one and love the other.
Beelzebub is associated with the figure of Baal, a former Semitic god of fertility, and Zebud, the lord of the flies. This merger gave rise to the figure of Beelzebub, the demon of pestilences. He is regarded as one of the most powerful demons, only behind Lucifer. His unquenchable hunger turns him into a relentless devourer. The plagues brought by the demon devour everything in its path. Therefore, he is associated with the sin of gluttony.
If you're a gluttonous person devouring everything in your path, perhaps this demon is whispering in your ear.
Asmodeus is one of the most powerful infernal demons. His origin is found in the most impure man that ever existed.
Does anybody know who the most impure man to have ever lived was? I was actually quite surprised when I did this research because I was unaware of the answer. I threw out a lot of answers, but it turns out I didn't even come close.
He was the king of Sodom, the sin city. Asmodeus guided Sodom's inhabitants towards depravity. Thus the city endured God's wrath and was devastated. Asmodeus, the most corrupt of men, was elevated to a demon when he reached hell, and due to his lust, he is related to that sin.
If you remember the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the angels went to the city, and the male angels actually attracted the male humans who wanted to have relations with them. So the city had definitely fallen into a deep depravity. It kind of reminds me of another country. What is the name of that country?
Leviathan is a dreadful creature that lives in the depths of the Mediterranean. His massive power awakens fear in the hearts of men. The description of this creature is found in Job's book, and that account describes it as something like a water dragon. The colossal sea demon is associated with the deadly sin of envy.
And I also did not know that the Leviathan was considered a prince of hell, let alone a demon.
The last and surely the most renowned infernal prince is Lucifer, the leader of the angels who rebelled against God.
And there are actually a couple more in the hierarchy of demons.
Pazuzu is a demonic god and is big in the demonic underworld. He is the controller of the disastrous winds, droughts, and famines, even responsible for the big locust invasions that cause people harm, ruin, and sometimes death.
And I am pretty sure most of you have actually heard of this demon, whether you know of it or not.
Remember the movie The Exorcist, where that girl became possessed by a nasty demon? Well, that demon was Pazuzu, who was obviously taking a break from changing the weather for the worse.
So if you have seen the movie The Exorcist, then you are very much aware of this demon already.
He is from the ancient Mesopotamian region. With his dog-like face, he stands with his left arm down and right arm up, connected to talons. Then there is a slightly better side to Pazuzu.
This demon actually has a bit of a soft side for humanity. Check this out.
There is a demon goddess who is called Lamashtu. This twisted demon preys on the newborns and even the unborn. Pazuzu regularly protects the young from her twisted demonic ways.
That's right. This demon actually protects human children from this other demon. Interesting how even these seem to have a bit of morality. Not what I expected from a daemon or demon.
Our next lusty demons are Succubus and Incubus. Both are Leland demons.
Okay, time out. What in the world is a Leland demon? Can somebody please explain to me what a Leland demon is? Why do I suddenly get the feeling I'm going to regret asking this question?
A Leland demon is a nasty spirit who preys on men and women sexually while they sleep.
Something told me I would regret that question.
Firstly, you have Succubus. She is the female that will attack men as they sleep. The male demon is called Incubus, who attacks women while they sleep. Both are supernatural demons and will give you mental deterioration or even death if too many encounters happen.
Wow, talk about a slow burn there. But that is a scary thought, right? While you're sleeping, this spiritual creature is taking advantage of you to the point that it is deteriorating your soul. This is something that is definitely not your run-of-the-mill demon.
They are said to look attractive, but can also show their true figures in between, with feet like bird claws, or horrible wrinkly fingers and nails fit only for a demon.
Hey, Jerry, was that what your ex-wife looked like in the morning when she woke up?
DW, you know you're wrong for that, right? Ow! I swear you can't take this wolf anywhere.
The actual demon whose specialty in lust is Asmodeus. He twists people's sexual appetites, and after years in hell, he's said to actually be on Earth.
And of course, we just heard about Asmodeus just a few minutes ago.
Moving on, and next out of our demonic horror bag collection is Zozo.
And this is yet another demon that you are most likely more familiar with than you are aware of.
This is the demon that you'll be trying to contact when using a Ouija board. No one is quite sure what Zozo is, although there are reports of a mystic named Zozo who stole his wife's soul about a century ago. This demon can also go under the same name as the demon Abacus, who is also a Ouija board presence.
If I am not mistaken, that triangular piece that comes with the, quote, game of Ouija board that everybody lays their hands on, I do believe that is also called the abacus, is it not?
Zozo is said to bring on depression, bad luck, and suicidal thoughts, and is full of extremely bad things and negativity. To go with the negativity, be wary of Zozo using names like Zaza, Oz, and Mama. especially if you feel bad and the planchette moves in a figure 8.
If I'm playing a Ouija board, which I would not ever do, to be clear here, but if I were, and it started going in a figure 8, I'm not entirely sure I would be very comfortable at that point myself.
Next up is Agorus.
And you remember a little bit ago we mentioned the hierarchy of the demons as opposed to the angels, and here's another royalty of the demonic hierarchy.
This demon is the Grand Duke of Hell. He shows himself as an old man who sits upon a crocodile-type creature while having a hawk on his fist. He has great importance in the demon world as he controls 31 legions. Any deserters that flee, he will make them return. He is also a master of earthquakes, teaching languages, and granting titles within his legions.
You have to be a pretty powerful demon to force your own will upon other demons and force them to return to your service.
Our next demon is called Asag, and is a monster, a real horrible demon. His presence is so disturbing that fish will automatically start to boil alive if he is near a river.
If you're near a river and the fish start boiling alive, I would suggest that you run very, very quickly.
He's from Sumerian mythology. If he was to come into contact with you, he will fill you full of head fevers that will be guaranteed to kill you, and give you a slow, painful death. He is also a constructor of mountains.
And once again, we have another character from Sumerian mythology, which continuously comes up on this show.
This demon should need no introduction, as he is up there, or down there I should say, with the biggest of demons. This demon is called Beelzebub, which means Lord of the Flies.
Many of you may have heard of Beelzebub, and is usually equated as being Satan, but he actually is a completely different character altogether.
Up next is Senelian. This is the demon of hate. He thrives on people hating each other and malicious revenge. He will destroy anything positive and cause anything hate-related and certainly promote it.
And one reason that we must be wary of ourselves when we are in a hate state, a state of madness, if you will, or anger, we must be very, very careful, as this demon may be whispering bad things in our ears.
If you have committed fraud, then you could well be having Pythias on your case. He is classified as one of the vilest demons from hell. Even though he is a commander and one of the princes of hell, he's definitely still a hands-on type of demon. He will gain great personal pleasure by torturing all the fraudsters in hell with unimaginable, unbearable torture techniques. He also down in hell likes to eat up any sinner he may come across if he's hungry.
This demon sounds downright disturbing. Let's hope nobody has committed fraud that ends up meeting this guy.
This demon is a true demon from hell. She is called Abizu, and is a horrid female demon that specializes in miscarriages and is riddled with envy.
And I find it very intriguing that females and males are both considered demons. Like in the Greek, the daemons could be the female or male gods, for instance. And we know the Christians demonize any gods or whatever it may be that they do not agree with, and suddenly canonize them as demon, right? I don't know, it just makes me wonder sometimes. But it is indeed fascinating that these creatures can be of either gender or even have gender at all.
Our next demon wants your soul.
Oh, I know this one. Is this one Shang Tsung, right? Shang Tsung, the one from that, Mortal Kombat video game, right?
His name is Renov.
Oh, it wasn't Shang Tsung after all.
And he carries a bit of weight in the Hell department, as he is a great Earl of Hell.
A great Earl, yet another among the royal demonic hierarchy.
He's a little monster-looking creature that carries a staff-like stick. Once you're knocking on death's door and are near death, he will come to the surface of Earth and collect your soul if you're destined for an eternity of hell. He is so much of a soul scavenger, he even takes animal souls too.
Could this be the demon that we classically call the Grim Reaper, right? The one that comes to the earth to take the souls? I also find it very intriguing after our last 2 episodes and the discussion on whether or not animals have a soul. And as much as I believe they do, this here gives me much evidence, as this suggests that the Grim Reaper in this case even takes the souls of animals, which means they have to exist to be taken.
Here we have Lady Midday. She is a demon from folklore and is very well known in Slavic-speaking countries. She gets her name from appearing in the field around midday, where people are working. It's because of her that workers who operate in the fields take a break around the midday times. If Lady Midday appears, usually as a young-looking lady or an old hag, but always in white, she will ask the workers questions.
This reminds me of the many tales that I've heard of the Lady in White, right? A lot of times the Lady in White is a hitchhiker on the side of the road, right? But there's always a Lady in White story somewhere. It makes me wonder if these aren't connected somehow, and perhaps these Lady in White ghosts may actually be demons looking for a meal.
The workers like to have a clear head, because if the workers get the questions wrong, well, then she'll simply just cut off your head because she can.
That sounds like the absolute worst game of Jeopardy to me ever.
The next demon is known as the Red Death.
The nickname already sounds frightening.
His name is Marahem. When the war between heaven and the now fallen angels was taking place, he upset the Grim Reaper, who ended his existence on heaven. He was then cursed and went mad. He ended up becoming one of the princes of hell, and has a heavy involvement of being a demon of violence. Even suicides in some cases, but mostly violence.
You know, a demon is scary enough, but a demon that's gone mad, that's double scary, right? Because they're not only demonic, but they're also now completely unpredictable. And I promise, there is a reason that we are going over this list of demons. It will be very important in the second half.
Belial is massive in the demon world, so big that he is said to be next to Lucifer at one stage, also having control over 80 legions. He is the demon of lies, described as the real lord of all evils. He can be so evil that there were reports of him being Lucifer's father, and it was him who tempted Lucifer to start the rebellion.
This is definitely the first time that I've ever heard of anyone tempting Lucifer to start the rebellion, or tempting into anything. Whereas we've always been told it was Lucifer's idea to start it, right? But apparently there was another influence that I was unaware of. And it looks like we've got just a couple more minutes before we're up against a hard break, so we're going to carry on just a little bit more. And what is really interesting is, so far we've heard of the Christians' explanations of all these different demons, right? But would you believe that there are demons on other continents that aren't exactly Christian-based? Of course, we've already mentioned the jinn, and we've mentioned the jinn across this series quite a few times. But there's actually even more countries across the world that have demon stories. Take Japan, for instance. That's right. Japan actually has a variety of different versions of demons, as we're about to find out.
We continue with a demon from Japanese Buddhism that will eat your corpse and other people's too, so you won't be alone if you're found by a Jikininki. Or in more modern Japanese, they can also be referred to as a Shokujinki. These gruesome demons can be seen as a ghost-like figure, but more commonly they are referred to as a human-like presence. This is because they are cursed individuals that once lived a greedy, selfish life. The worst people were cursed into a demonic Jikaninki. They're condemned to search out the dead and eat their corpses.
And once again, we see yet another running theme across so many of these Spooktober episodes, and that is the theme of the curse, right? From the werewolf to the vampire to the zombie, and now to the demonic. It always comes down to the curse, doesn't it? It's like we've done a full month study on curses without even trying to. But like most curses, there is a way to reverse them, right?
The curse can be lifted with what's called a Sagaki service. The demonic cursed presence is then said to turn into a grave.
At least you get to see that it's finished at the end, right? It's got a grave, a symbol that it is finished.
Next up, demon from Japanese Buddhism, also known as corpse, and this other people's demon has 3 heads. So you won't be alone if you're one of a ram and one of a bull.
But as ugly of a creature as this sounds, it actually has a pretty cool power.
This demon can see the past, the present, and the future, which makes him rather powerful. He also has the ability to make a man become invisible, too.
My favorite superpower has always been invisibility, right? Plus, with the ability to see the past, present, and the future, that would make me unstoppable. It's lucky that I don't have those abilities, isn't it?
The next demon is a president of hell, and has also been said to be an earl too. This demon is named Galatia Labolas, sometimes named Kakranolas. Commander of 36 legions of demons, he's a big presence. At first, this demon is quite helpful, as he can cause the love between friends and foe whenever he likes.
Which, once again, helpful is not the word we're used to hearing when we hear the word demon, is it?
However, he also encourages homicides and is the captain and author of bloodshed and manslaughter.
Interesting, isn't it? Because we hear that story all the time, don't we? Lovers gone wrong, turned into a sad situation where one didn't make it. It's sad, but perhaps it could be authored by this demon right here, whispering in your ear, or, as we're gonna get into in the second half, possibly taking over entirely.
Meet Ukobak,
our final demon on the list for this evening. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. You have now become amateur demonologists, at least with a slight beginning of the knowledge of the different demons that exist. And this knowledge is going to be very important as we go into the second half of the show.
This demon is said to be of inferior order. His eyes are large and so are his ears. He wanders around with a pan full of hot coals, or sometimes a red-hot poker. His appearance is like many perceive the devil to look like. He's covered in flames and bright red, so it's no surprise he sorts out oils of the infernal boilers.
He sorts out the oils of the infernal boilers. Something tells me it's not this simple, is it?
These boiler oils are not run by any old oil. This oil is the blood of the damned.
And on that note, my fellow amateur demonologist, we have to go ahead and take a network break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna come back in the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show, where we're gonna discuss the scariest and the darkest part of this entire series, as we've gotten consistently darker with every episode. I assure you, we have saved the best for last. As Jerry pointed out, what makes these scary is even though we can argue over the original beginning of the name, everybody agrees that they are real and that they do exist. From the Greeks to the early Christians to modern day Christians, everybody agrees that these creatures are something that we need to be very careful of. And we'll find out in the second half why that is. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and take a network break right here. And we'll see you in just a couple minutes right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. Oh, yeah.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Sex in the City? Nope. Interview with a vampire? Nope. If you build it, they will come? Febreze? Tweeze in the middle? Wrong again. Depends. Nope. Welcome to the Twilight Zone, my friends. A phenomenon known as the Mandela effect. You may have heard of it. You may want to not neglect. Unbecoming, awake, and spiritually inclined. So sit back, relax, while I blow your mind. Take the thumb off the cell, stop following the sheep. Down the rabbit hole we go. Are you ready for that leap? The Zapruder film, #JFK. I looked at the footage and I said, what the heck? How come there are 6 people in that dang car? Stretch limo, for me, this was all too bizarre. A glass behind the driver, no way, Jose. I remember in the car, my mind was in total disarray. Trying to make sense of what I was seeing, what I was witnessing. Didn't connect with my inner being. A second woman in the car for me was only the first lady. Do you smell what the rock is cooking? All this seemed kinda shady. Berenstein Bears. Nope. Shazam? Sinbad? Not in this reality. Good lord. An awakening. Was it all a revelation? The naysayers and skeptics call it confabulation. They say we misremembered and call us back. Crazy, did you smoke a doobie? Maybe that's why it's a little bit hazy. Unless you experience it, you'll never know. But enough of that, on with this Mandela effect flow. Mandela effect in the house. What if the world happened to Ed McMahon? In this reality, Publishers Clearinghouse was not a fan. Never the spokesperson, but we remember it clear as day. McMahon holding that check while the winner yelled out, yay! American Family Publishers, never heard of them until now. This Mandela effect has me raising the people's eyebrow. So many theories on what it could be. Have you ever heard of CERN and the LHC? Luke, I am your father. Nope. Sally Fields? Nope, wrong again. That stands for the Large Hadron Collider. I thought it would mention, you know, the machine that opens up portals into different dimensions. You're probably thinking that this is all science fiction, but you gotta think outside the box and have no restrictions. Alternate realities and parallel dimensions. Okay, I get some of your apprehensions. Could this all be a spiritual evolution? Cause the human race has grown tired of this toxic pollution. Mandela effect in the house. Crazy. Some people, they just don't understand. That's just the way it is. You know? Stay strong, my friends. That's just the way it is. Dolly has no braces? Are you serious? Good lord. Joel Osteen. So what the heck happened to the owl? Oh my gosh. Oh, this is definitely the Twilight Zone. This is crazy.
Anyhow, Juanito, 1975, with the greatest Mandela effect rap on YouTube. Hi everyone, it's AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit. How was your week? Now your weekend has officially begun. Are you enjoying Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Show as he looks at part 3 of Ghosts and Demons? If you are, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. Jerry will return tomorrow night again for Halloween, the end of his Spooktober series, here on the DarkWolf's Den Show. I'll be back again Friday night starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as we do the MASH. That's right, the Monster Mash. Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist? Tune in Friday night, October 30th, and find out. Then Saturday night, this whole Spooktober comes to an end as we honor the late, great Art Bell with Ghost to Ghost. That's right, a on-air live call-in episode featuring your ghost stories. I've gathered a few of my own, and we are going to spend an evening doing a yearly tradition that was famous to Art Bell, Ghost to Ghost, as we celebrate October 31st, Halloween 2020. Kicks off 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then immediately after is going to be our Rippin' Rabbit Hole costume party. That's right, our Halloween evening costume party in the backstage VIP chat lounge. So start thinking already, if you haven't done so, about what you're going to wear, because you have to have a costume in order to get into the VIP room. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have a feeling we're going to end Spooktober outright. Then, Sunday night, can you believe it? It's already November. My goodness. Sunday kicks off our November installation of the Fantastic Fun Show. Will My Life DIY stay seated on the throne as the Fantastic Fun Queen? Or perhaps will somebody take the throne and reclaim the crown? Tune in Sunday, November 1st, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and we give you the very best of extended weekends and common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll return now to the second half of tonight's Ghosts, Demons on the DarkWolf's Den Show with your host, Jerry Hicks and DW. Stick around. A lot more rabbit hole to explore.
Spaniard who had left his wife behind. If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. That's right. Tonight we're talking about demons. That's right. We're closing out our ghost miniseries with the darkest of all the ghost creatures. Those dark creatures known as demons. And in the first half, we've discussed many types, many specific demons and what their specialties are, as well as where the daemon or demon originally came from, right? But one of the things that is most well known when it comes to demons is demonic possession. That's right. What makes this so very disturbing, besides what happens during a possession, is the reality of the situation. The Catholic Church actually cannot keep exorcists to do possession cases and exorcise demons from people. There are so many going on in the world right now that they just cannot keep up. And as you guys know, Jerry's friends with Mr. Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior who can tell you stories that will make your skin crawl. That's right. And all through history, of course, there have been stories of demonic possessions.
According to a millennia of religious tradition, our bodies can become vessels for evil spirits and even ghosts of former humans with nothing better to do now that they've crossed over to the other side. The most famous was, of course, the case of Roland Doe that inspired The Exorcist.
That's right. For those who don't know, The Exorcist, the movie, was based on a very real case.
But if you're not afraid to look, you can find all sorts of wild tales of people taken over by demons, spirits, and ghosts.
And our first story up in line is actually some people that you would not expect to be able to become possessed.
Loudun possessions. One of the most notorious instances of possession came in the 17th century in the French village of Loudun, when an entire convent of nuns appeared to have been possessed by a series of demons with names like Leviathan, Astaroth, Zebulon.
A lot of these names you may remember from the first half of the show, and that's one reason we went over these names, as they're actually important as to who each one of them are that are attempting to take over these people. And a lot of times in exorcisms, you'll notice that the exorcist will ask for the name of the demon inhabiting the person.
These nuns appeared during a series of trials that accused the parish priest, Urban Grandier, of having made a pact with...
Could it be Satan?
You can probably guess that the priest had not, in fact, signed the souls of some nuns away. According to Professor Gary Zabel, his problems actually came from being way too handsome and doing some not very priestly things with some influential men's daughters.
Which may actually be the sign of the influence of another demon that we learned about in the first half.
Nevertheless, in a series of public exorcisms, these nuns screamed, convulsed, and spoke in devil language, leading to a public hysteria that ultimately ended in Grandier being burnt at the stake. The events of the Loudun possessions were famous enough to be turned into a book by Aldous Huxley called The Devils of Loudun in 1952, which was then adapted as the 1971 film The Devils.
I'm starting to see a trend with turning these exorcisms into movies.
But this wasn't the first time these events supposedly happened. An almost identical case of possessed nuns also ended with a crispy priest in Aix-en-Provence in 1611.
You know, it is kind of disturbing to me that it happened twice.
Clara Germana Seal. The book Demonic Possession, Extraordinary True Life Experiences recounts a tale from 1906 in which a 16-year-old South African girl named Clara Germana Seal claimed that she made a pact with Satan and confessed as much to her priest, Father Erasmus Herner.
We could actually do a whole episode on people who have made a pact with the devil and how that has turned out for them, which we may in the future. But tonight, of course, we're discussing these demon-possessed people, and this particular one here we were hearing about says she made a pact with the devil himself.
According to the nuns at her school, the girl would rip her own clothes, make sounds like a wild animal, and could speak languages she had never learned. Seal would also recoil from the presence of holy items, demonstrated superhuman strength, was reported to levitate as much as 5 feet off the ground, and could transform into a snake-like creature that left fang-like puncture marks in a nun's arm after biting her.
Shape-shifting is not exactly a common version of these entities. As a matter of fact, this is one of the few case files I have heard where a demon is able to shape-shift the entire body without distorting it.
Father Herner performed an exorcism, and though he was able to remove the demon, Satan dropped the mic by levitating the girl one more time in front of a church full of people as he made his exit.
And I have to say that case file right there is quite disturbing to me.
Michael Taylor. In 1974, Michael Taylor lived in a small town in England called Ossett, where he began attending a prayer group during a time of depression. When the group leader, Mary Robinson, tried to heal Taylor's back injury with Holy Ghost power, Taylor became obsessed with her, and the two would sit up all night making the sign of the cross over each other. As totally wholesome, and not at all weird as that sounds, Taylor's wife naturally became convinced that they were having an affair. When she confronted them about it in front of the whole church, Taylor began screaming in tongues and getting violent, causing church leaders to agree that he was possessed and called for an exorcism. For 7 hours, 2 ministers prayed over Taylor and busted over 40 demons.
Wow, that is a lot of demons, and the sad part is that wasn't even all of them.
but decided to leave the demon responsible for murder in there until the next day, which turned out to not be a great idea.
Yeah, whoever made that call definitely wasn't the best of the priests.
Unsurprisingly, Taylor went home and took the lives of his wife and her dog. Police found him wandering the streets, naked and covered in blood, screaming, "It is the blood of Satan."
I could not even imagine the type of mindset one would have to be in to even do something like this. Or is the mind even there, right? Is the consciousness suppressed to the point that the demon takes over completely? It seems that way.
Great news. He was found not guilty.
Well, I guess apparently demonic possession is a pretty good defense in court, huh?
Bobby Jindal. Unless you're a real exorcism nut, there's a decent chance that Bobby Jindal is the first name on this list you recognized right away.
And for those who do not recognize that name, this is another person that you would never expect to be involved with this type of topic.
He was the governor of Louisiana from 2008 to 2016. He gave the response to President Obama's 2009 State of the Union address and was one of the many contenders for president in 2016. What you may not know is that while he was in college, Jindal performed an exorcism on his, quote, intimate but non-romantic friend Susan. This isn't some weird rumor cooked up by a political opponent either. He wrote all about it in 1994 in an article for the New Oxford Review called Physical Dimensions of Spiritual Warfare. Noticing that Susan was, quote, acting strange, Jindal decided to perform an exorcism together with members of his school's Campus Crusade for Christ, who restrained Susan despite her attempts to escape, rubbing crucifixes and Bibles in her face and being surprised that she kept swearing for some reason. While there is no clear answer as to the cause of the, quote, sullen mood that led to Jindal's suspicion, maybe, just maybe, it was that according to a Mother Jones article, she was undergoing treatment for cancer at the time.
It sounds like this guy got a little overzealous and decided to try to exorcise demons just because it was something to do, which, may I add, I do not suggest doing.
Annalisa Michel. How many times would you say is a normal amount of times to be exorcised?
What do you guys say? What would be a normal amount of times to have an exorcism performed on you? I personally have never had any exorcisms, so I would personally say the number should be 0, right?
Well, okay, 0 is normal.
Okay, good. I was a little worried I would fail that test there.
But if you had to be exorcised, you would hope 1 would be good, right? Maybe 2?
I don't know. 2's just a little bit much for me. That's pushing it. I mean, 1 should have been more than plenty, right?
How about 67?
67? Good grief, that's a lot.
And that's an understatement.
A Washington Post article from 2005 tells the story of Annalisa Michel, a young woman in Germany who began arousing suspicion when she refused to walk past a picture of Jesus and also started to smell like hell, literally. She would speak in the voice of specific demons and damned souls, including Judas Iscariot, who apparently threw shade on Hitler by saying he was a, quote, big mouth with no real pull in hell.
What I find interesting is that actually fits Hitler's character, as well as we know he's in hell if we take that to be truth.
This incident was followed by a series of 67 exorcisms based on a ritual from 1614, during which Michel stopped eating. In the end, she was starved into her grave, weighing only 68 pounds at the end of her life. Wow, you might say, the Middle Ages were messed up.
However, this particular case didn't actually happen in the Middle Ages.
Nah, this happened in 1975. Michel's story was the basis for the 2005 film The Exorcism of Emily Rose. So at least her horrible and needless death led to a towering achievement in cinema.
Which I have seen, and may I be the first to say that is an incredibly creepy and scary movie, especially when you know that it comes from a true story.
Brother Hermes. There can't be a need for that many exorcisms, right? Sure, there are obviously a few circumstances when you've got to do, say, 67 of them. But generally it seems like you only really get 1, unless you're Hermes Cifuentes, aka Brother Hermes. an exorcist who claimed in 2012 to have exorcised a staggering 35,000 demons over 25 years. That's 1,400 exorcisms a year, or nearly 4 a day. He lives in La Cumbre in the West Andes of Colombia, which presumably looks like that one scene in Ghostbusters, just like all the time. But surely his process has to be pretty simple, right? A little sprinkle of holy water, a quick one of these.
The power of Christ compels you!
And then boom, bam, you're on to the next one, right?
Yes, that is what I typically picture, sort of, when I picture an exorcism. However, we won't have time to get into the exorcisms tonight as much as I would like to. But we all know, watching movies and being rounded different ways, we've all seen the different exorcisms, you know. But this is definitely an exorcism that's different, and yeah, you just gotta hear this, guys. Take a listen to this.
Nope. Brother Hermes paints the allegedly possessed black and places them inside ritually drawn circles with chicken eggs in each of their hands. He interviews the demons, they crush the eggs, then he sets the ring on fire. Okay, fine. That's rad enough to do 35,000 times.
And to me, this sounds more like a magical ritual than it does a exorcism, now doesn't it? But how would you know, right? How would you know if you were possessed? Is there any signs that one would look for? Or maybe your friend, right? Maybe you think your friend may be possessed because they're doing some really weird things. This is election time, though. Let's keep that in mind, guys, before we go into this. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to present to you a couple tips on ways that you might be able to recognize if somebody is possessed.
At number 10, we have voices telling you to abandon God. Right off the bat, I'm going to say if you're hearing voices in your head, you should probably go see a psychiatrist before you walk into a church and claim that the devil is in you, but that's just my opinion.
You hear that, Jerry? Does that mean you're my demon? Or am I yours?
But leaving all science at the door, one of the signs that you might have a demonic possession is hearing whisperings in your mind. Demons aren't really big fans of going to church, and they're well aware that a priest could cleanse your body of the evil body snatcher living inside you. So the last place a demon wants you to go is inside God's house or on a date with Father McCoy. In some recorded cases of demonic possession, the victims have said to heard voices saying God is dead or telling them to relinquish their faith and pray to Satan. Is there any way you can get a demon that just whispers motivational speeches into your ear?
Maybe that's why they want a body so badly, so that they can be motivational speakers.
At number 9, we have craving seclusion.
Now I'm getting a little worried because I also love to be secluded. Perhaps I'm betting 2 for this list so far. Perhaps this isn't going to turn out so well for the wolf.
I mean, if this is true, then a lot of us are possessed by a demon. I guess a demon conveniently possesses my body every time a new PlayStation exclusive comes out and I lock myself away in my hovel.
At least I'm not alone in that one.
And then conveniently leaves once I've got my money's worth. I mean, you know, demons are understanding if nothing else. Well, after watching some preacher videos, I've learned that demons living in your body will want to separate you from the people you love. The pesky demon can't risk your loved ones trying to help you out or point out that you're starting to grow claws. Based on these 2 first points, we can understand that a demon's main plan is to divide and conquer. The demon wants to get you alone so it can have some private time with you. Sounds like all these demons just read the game. But also, there's nothing wrong with wanting to take a good book, a good movie, or good TV show and just tuck yourself away in a corner of your room and leave everyone else alone. Or maybe you have a brutal hangover because it's Hangover Sunday and the only time you leave your room is to pee and answer the door for the delivery guy. That's not a demon, that's just self-care.
I personally have loved to be by myself for many years.
At number 8, we have puke. Yeah, I don't know what it is about demons, but they love puke. Every time you watch a movie with demons taking over people's bodies, they're just puking all over the place like teenagers at their first high school party.
Okay, good. Now, I haven't puked in quite a while, so that is definitely one that is not on the list for me. I don't puke all the time, thank goodness.
Now, just because you start puking doesn't mean that you have a demon in you. I mean, it could mean that you should have avoided the seafood at the $8 buffet, or you could just be learning what motion sickness is. I think what you're looking for is that high-velocity projectile puke. You know, the kind of puke that almost seems like it has heat-seeking capabilities? It hits the wall and then chips the paint off it? If you start puking like that, and you haven't recently eaten truck stop sushi, you might have a demon living inside you.
And no, that does not mean that a cold is the demons possessing you, even though it may feel like it sometimes.
At number 7, we have blackouts.
And I'm just going to point out right off the rip that blackouts does not count being blackout drunk. Neither does speaking in tongues because you're trying to speak English while you're blackout drunk.
You're going to be sharing your body with another entity. There are going to be moments where it wants to take control of the wheel. As you drift further and further into the demon's hold, you will lose control of yourself. If you go to sleep and then wake up in the middle of the streets walking around barefoot, or forget entire chunks of your day and always have weird scratches all over your body, then you might have a drinking problem, and you should probably get some help. But you also might be the puppet of a dark being trying to cripple your soul. That's a great excuse for the next time I black out at a party. I'll be like, I don't even drink. It was the demon that took a crap in your pillowcase. I would never dream of doing anything like that. I dream about it all the time.
Could you imagine going to bed one night and waking up the next day halfway through your day right in the middle of an action or something? That would be incredibly scary to me.
At number 6, we have animals are scared of you.
Okay, this one definitely does not fit me. Animals tend to come up to me constantly.
For whatever reason, animals are amazing at sniffing out the devil. Birds, cats, dogs, they all go haywire every time a dark force comes around. So if your neighborhood dog who used to always let you pet him suddenly starts trying to bite your fingers off, then maybe you should take a shower in holy water. This is the only one on the list where I'm going to be on the dog side. Like, sorry dude, if a dog bites you, that's your fault. You shouldn't be bringing that demonic energy around here. It's really bad. No one likes it.
Someone once told me the only reason that they initially trusted me when they met me was that their dog liked me, which I took actually as a compliment.
Another sign related to this point is if you suddenly feel the urge to harm small animals, then you should also seek help. A craving for torture and pain are also signs that a monster's living inside you, and will usually manifest in injuring small animals before the devil grows and starts using you as a marionette.
It is also the first signs of a killer or a psychopath.
At number 5, we have hallucinating. Once the devil gets into your mind, he'll start sending you dark, disturbing images and try to break you down. Someone whose spirit is strong and pure is a lot harder to manipulate than someone who is scared and crippled. Seeing demonic faces or satanic markings are common hallucinations that victims of possession have said they've seen. Some people claim to have dark and twisted nightmares, filled with imagery of death and mutilated bodies, usually the bodies of their loved ones. This is a way the devil will not only try to destroy your mental state, but also try to separate you from other people. If everyone thinks you've gone crazy, then you might end up isolating yourself from your families or end up locked away in an institution. This remoteness is exactly what the Prince of Darkness needs to get into your soul.
Okay, a couple of points here. Number 1, it doesn't necessarily have to be Satan. It could be any one of the demons that we discussed in the first half. Number 2, it goes to show that the demons prey upon the weakest, so the weaker they can make you and break your mental state down, the more powerful they will become.
At number 4, we have an increase in violent tendencies. This is only an increase in violent tendencies. If you've been attacking people for your whole life, then you don't have a demon in your belly. You're just a mean guy.
Or girl, but this is also a way for the demon to enter into your life If you're already a bad person, it doesn't make it that hard for the demon to step in.
But if you've been living every day like Mother Teresa and all of a sudden you start choke slamming toddlers through a kitchen table, maybe you should try taking some CBD drops. Those are supposed to really help you with stress. But if those don't work, then you probably need a priest to do a little song and dance to leave you feeling blessed. Or a third option, you could just join an MMA gym and start working your way through the ranks. Just because your life has been co-opted by Lucifer doesn't mean you aren't an optimist at heart. Take your bad situation and turn it into a massive bonus. Take the power of the Dark Lord flowing through your veins and use it to spinning back kick the champ in a first round KO. Beautiful.
If only somebody would have enough lucidity during a possession, they could probably pull off a lot of insane stunts. Perhaps that's how the Antichrist is going to perform all the insane miracles.
At number 3, we have holy items give you pain. This is probably the easiest test. If you pick up a cross or walk into a church and it burns your skin, then I would say that's an absolute answer to your question of whether or not there's a demon inside you. Either that or you have the world's worst allergy to silver chains. This is because holy items have been blessed by God, and it's the power of God that will repel demonic forces out of your body. No pain, no gain. You want to get this demon out of you and back into the underworld? Then you're going to have to want it. You need to push through the pain and get to the holy promised land on the other side.
And from the information that I have found, any religious item will work. It does not necessarily have to be the cross, although the cross is the most commonly known.
At number 2, we have contortion. You know how you're sitting at home right now and your shoulders are in their sockets and your head is not doing a 360? Well, that's good. That's how your body is supposed to be. However, if you were to be a victim of a dark spirit, it might take your arms and your legs and think, let's see what this body can do. It seems like in every movie with an exorcism, it seems like there's a part where their body starts twisting and turning until they look like a meat pretzel from a nightmare land.
What I do not understand about the contortion part, and what really makes it paranormal to me in nature, is the fact that not a bone is broken, not a tendon pulled, nothing is ever injured to the point of needing surgery afterwards during these that I've read.
And finally, the number 1 sign that you might be possessed by a demon is crab walking up walls. Yeah, if all of a sudden you have the ability to climb sheer surfaces like gravity doesn't exist, and you do this while looking like a melted G.I. Joe, then you probably got a demon in your body, baby. And you're probably asking, Che, how do I know if my crab walking up the walls is the Dark Lord of Evil's bidding or a case of delayed onset superhero powers? Well, let's go through a small checklist. While crab walking up the wall, do you feel excitement, maybe a little confusion, but overall a great feeling of joy? Well, if that's what you're feeling, then you have superpowers. Now, if while crab walking you feel the need to pee in your own hand and throw it into someone's eyes to blind them, well, that's the devil in your heart, and you should probably talk to your family priest to see what he can do for you.
And I've got to say, besides the movie like The Exorcist or whatever movie it was, I've not really seen somebody crab walk up a wall. And, you know, if you guys have a multitude of these issues, you may very well be possessed. Or perhaps your friend is having these issues. You might want to help them out a little bit and find them some holy water to bathe in. But what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think the dark side is real? But through this mini-series, we've discussed darker and darker versions of ghosts, all the way down to the demons. And what do you guys think? Do you think ghosts are real on so many different levels? Do you think demons are real? Do you think possession can occur and the devil can take you over? Or is it just another Halloween trick? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right. That's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Show for Spooktober 28th, 2020. I really appreciate everybody joining us for this mini-series on ghosts. as well as this final dark episode on demons. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode may be over, but don't you worry. Jerry will be back on the airwaves tomorrow night with the Halloween Spooktacular. That's right. I hear he's got a lot of fun planned for you guys. The Dark Wolf, of course, will be taking a little vacation, and maybe you guys will see me pop up every now and again, but if not, then we will be back next Spooktober in true wolf form. That's right. Then, ladies and gentlemen, after Jerry takes the airwaves on Thursday night for the Spooktacular Halloween party, on Friday night, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back to the airwaves with a Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. On Friday night, he's going to talk about the Monster Mash. Perhaps this will be a mashup of different monsters that exist today and across history. Or perhaps I'm dead wrong. I guess we'll have to tune in Friday night to find out. Then on Saturday night, an Art Bell classic. That's right. Ghost to Ghost. Get your ghost stories ready to call in and share with us live on the air on Halloween night, Spooktober 31st, and Ghost to Ghost. Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend that evening, but I'm definitely looking forward to listening to that replay. Then, on Sunday, it will be the Fantastic Fun Show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the most fun that you can have on radio. Will My Life DIY continue to remain the reigning queen of the Fantastic Fun King Queen, or will somebody dethrone her? Only time will tell. And that is the weekend lineup here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. We very much appreciate you guys joining us this evening and every evening. And remember, you can always catch up with the animals of radio at the rippinrabbithole.com. That's right. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right, over there. You're going to find the 24/7 backstage lounge. Scroll on down to the VIP entrance once you click on that page. You'll have to okay your microphone and camera, but you can turn those off as soon as you get inside. And you can text chat only if you would like. That's where I'm going to head right after the show here in a couple minutes, and I look forward to seeing you guys over there. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, and everybody at Rippin' Common Sense Radio, we thank you for listening, and until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody.
The most famous howl in radio. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a round of applause for being smart enough to be here. And guess what? Your weekend has now officially begun. That's what that howl marks the start of the weekend. Now come back again tomorrow night, Thursday, October 29th, as Jerry ends out Spooktober with a Halloween Spooktacular. That starts again tomorrow night, Thursday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then I'll be back on Friday night with a look at the Monster Mash. That's right, Let's do the mash. Let's do the monster mash. Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist? Tune in Friday night, October 30th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and find out. Again, I'm going to leave you guessing as to exactly what that content is all about. It's going to be a fun night as Spooktober then comes to an end the following night, Saturday, Halloween night, October 31st, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Join us for an Art Bell tribute to a yearly tradition Art would do every year on Halloween night called Ghost to Ghost. That's right, we're going to open up the wild card line for your ghost stories. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell your family's friends to join us Halloween night, October 31st, as we explore the rabbit hole of Ghost to Ghost with your live calls on air. Get your ghost stories ready and come prepared to share. Even come in a costume that night, because if you do, immediately following the program will be our Rippin' Rabbit Hole costume party held in the VIP backstage lounge. You're going to have a costume to get in that night. So think about what it is you might want to dress yourself up as. We have a lot of suggestions for you in last week's episode of Halloween costumes. And believe me, you don't have to come elaborate. You just have to come something prepared for a little bit of fun as we close out Spooktober and welcome November. Speaking of November, Sunday, November 1st, this Sunday, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, family game night here at the Rippin' Rabbit Hole returns as the Fantastic Fun Show, the November installation, will take to the airwaves. Will my life stay seated on the throne? Or perhaps will somebody knock her off and take the crown as the Fantastic Fun King? Or the fun starts 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, Sunday night, November 1st. Can you believe it? It's November already? That's scarier than Spooktober. Hey, if you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. So, wherever you are, good morning, good evening, or good day, whatever the case may be, I'm AJ, the Rippin' Rabbit, on behalf of Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Show. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.
Things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever she's a sneaky hider, hiding lies and alibis. What a sinner, is it in What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the grass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Just just illusion, manifestation, or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion?